Is it wrong to have a picture of Jesus? I believe so. Years ago, I didn't think about it. My first wife bought me a picture of the face on the Shroud of Turin, that if you look at it one way, it was the face on the shroud, and if you tilted it another way, there was an artist's rendition of what the face may have looked like. We hung it up in our bedroom. After that, the Lord taught me the danger of having images. The devil can't appear in any form that man can imagine. Images are also invitations for the evil spirits. When you have any kind of image, it's like saying that you don't care that God said, "Do not make unto yourself images." And you're saying to the demons, "Come on in." I asked the Lord the same question about having an image of Him. He told me that there are no true images of Him, and that images, supposedly of Him, are either of the devil disguised as Him, or one of the demons, or sometimes of a regular person that really exists. There was a series of paintings I was attracted to, supposedly of Jesus. When I started letting my hair grow and beard grow, I noticed that the painting looked more like me than Jesus. Anyway, getting back to the picture I had, I got rid of it when I realized that there was a demon following me around because of the picture, and that there was a demon that was causing problems between me and my wife that contributed to the breakup of my marriage to her. Probably a good idea not to have any images. Is the suffering servant in Isaiah 53 a prophecy about Jesus? Yes. What is the swoon theory, and did Jesus survive the crucifixion? I think the swoon theory comes from the book The Jesus Papers, that said that Jesus faked being dead and was in a deep coma. The only problem with this theory is the fact that hundreds of people saw the Lord after His resurrection, and many saw Him ascend into heaven. As I wrote earlier, since Jesus had the power to ascend into heaven before the crucifixion, it would seem pointless for Him to be tortured and to fake dying. Jesus died to fulfill His word that the dead would hear His voice and that they would then be able to come back to life. Jesus was not just putting on a show. Why did Jesus teach in parables? There were a few reasons for telling parables. One is that stories are easily remembered and can easily be passed on. Another is that you can tell a story about the faults of other people without getting into trouble. For example, the parable of the husbandman who killed the son of the king to steal the vineyard. Jesus asked the religious rulers what the king should do about the men who killed his son. They answered and said that the king should send his army to destroy them, not knowing that what they were saying, they pronounced their own judgment, and that is exactly what happened. They were the husbandmen. The Father is God, and Jesus is the Son who they killed. And God sent an army, the Romans, to destroy them. Jesus explained another reason, foretold by Isaiah, was that the Messiah would speak in parables, knowing that seeing and hearing the truth they would not believe and would not be converted. But with parables, they would figure it out with the hope of being converted by their own study. What does INRI mean? What was written on the sign nailed to the cross? These letters are the abbreviation of the words Jesus Nazarenus Rex Judaeorum, which is Latin, which means Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. This was the accusation against Jesus and the reason for His death, and was written in the languages of the day. How long was Jesus' ministry? 3 years. It was against the tradition of the Jews for any man to preach before age 30. John, who was 6 months older than Jesus, started preaching 6 months before Jesus, and was born around the time before Jesus. Jesus was born around the time of Passover, and He died 3 years later during the Passover season. If Jesus was God, how could He pray to God? Was He talking to Himself? Jesus' Father is a real living being and distinct from Jesus. When Jesus prayed, He talked to His Father the same way any man would talk to his father. Why did God send Jesus when he did? Why not earlier? Why not later? It was all planned out long ago, since before the world began. The events that occur in this life were foreseen and were played out spiritually before we came here. It was like playing a game of chess. God had his perfect plan, and he knew what Lucifer would do to counter his plan. When he made a move, the devil would make a counter move. In a way, it was like maneuvering the devil to do certain things at certain points of time so that the devil's moves would benefit the plan. Jesus began his ministry at a time when the Jewish leadership was so blinded by the devil they could not see Jesus for who he really was. And it was inevitable that they would kill him, which was necessary to bring about the salvation of the dead. Any other leadership before or after may not have done what they did to kill their God. Jesus coming when he did set in motion the spreading of the gospel to the whole world, not just the Jews. What is the meaning of Matthew 27:52 through 53? When Jesus died, there was an earthquake that opened the tombs of the dead. Since it was a Sabbath period, nobody was sent to shut them back up. So the tombs were opened during the 3 days Jesus' body was in the tomb. Then, when Jesus resurrected, many of the dead also came out of their tombs, being resurrected, and they went into the city and were seen by many people. Jesus was not the only one resurrected on Resurrection Day. Was Jesus a pacifist? He came to bring peace to the world, and he taught the way to peace. But in his own words, he said that his teaching would bring division and the sword. And it was a pacifist, and it has. A pacifist is one who seeks to appease other people by making compromises to avoid war, even if it means giving up freedom and righteousness to obtain it. If you're a true follower of Jesus, you're not going to compromise your stand for Jesus, even if it means being put to death or being cut off from your church or religion or going to war to fight for the truth. I love you all, bless you all with faith and love. In the name of Yeshua, Amen. Friend and Brother Joe. Questions or comments, put them in the comment section below.